Hello and welcome to Real Estate Divas. Today we are going to be talking about the benefits of investing in raw land right after this. Hello and welcome to Real Estate Divas. I'm Kristin Gerst here with my fabulous co-host, Jer'Leigh Thompson. And we are going to be talking about what are the benefits of raw land investing.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that one. That one's like the one that's out there. It's kind of a sleeper. There are some heavy hitters that are looking into that, but for the most part, it's not as exciting as when you're watching, all your HGTV shows. Nobody's looking at raw land. Nobody wants to see you, in a 4x4 go checking out land. It's pretty boring, but it can be really profitable.
All right, so when I drive by, especially I see these like city lots and they're pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. But you know what? They've been pretty cheap for like 30, 40, 50 years. And it doesn't seem like they really go out in value. Are we talking about raw land like that? Or are we talking about...
Well, you'll notice like if you're checking on, which I'm sure you're talking about, it will sit. If you're talking about inner city, there are places it will sit. But, just like in the last 2 years where we've seen exponential growth and appreciation in properties, we've seen that in land as well. So if there are vacant lots in most metropolitan areas right now, they're going for a lot more than what they used to go for. It used to be like $10,000. Now you're looking at $90,000. Did you have to put any money into that besides paying whatever it was you paid for that lot? Nope. Are you having to maintain anything? Are you having to buy supplies? No, you're buying, you're selling that plot as is. But most of what we're talking, or the greater appreciation, is on the outskirts.
On the outskirts. So we're talking about a lot, at least several acres.
It can be, there's several different strategies as far as the land appreciation, what your game is, just like whenever somebody's dealing with an actual house, you've got several different exit strategies, right? The same thing kind of happens with land. One is if you buy it and you lease it to somebody. So if you're out in the outskirts, and like here in Texas, we've got tons of property, you know as well as I do that there's ag benefits. There's that whole exemption if you just want to buy it and hold it for a little while and put a couple of goats on it. Put, a cow on there.
And there are great tax benefits and tax write-offs if you can get an ag exemption for it. But
exactly.
I don't know specifically, what you need to do to it. Is it only putting a couple goats on?
Yeah, pretty much it's getting it, approved by whatever county you're in. They've got to approve it. You get that ag exemption, and you could literally throw a cow on there. Just like, okay, what's the name? Ryan, do you remember the name of that gas station? What's the gas station that has the tacos?
Oh, right. It's right down South Dallas on
it's
River.
Right
it's
off
on River.
You remember?
And it's got the Longhorns. Well, it's got the Longhorns. There's almost like you want to take pictures when you stop.
There's like they've got 3 or 4 Longhorns
it's just
now.
right down there by south side of downtown.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Are you serious? We've talked about their tacos before.
A gas station with tacos?
It's one of those big mega.
Anyways,
And,
I have a...
are you talking about Buc-ee's?
No.
It's all right.
Pre-Buc-ee's.
It's gone.
Yeah. Anyways,
I have a girlfriend who has, we'll call it a ranch, but it's acreage. I think it's somewhere around, 75 acres or so. And she's getting killed on her taxes. So they're going out there and planting hay.
Yep.
On
Bermuda
those
grass,
acres,
hay. Yep.
Whatever it is. And they are then getting a ton of benefits from the state, from the government, and getting these huge tax write-offs.
So if you want to do it yourself, if you have a lot of land outside of a city, out in the country, anywhere where it's rural, you can do that and then do it yourself, or you lease it to somebody. Like there's all kinds of people that want to grow Bermuda or hay and they're selling that. They don't have the land for it. They go out there, they work your land. You're just leasing it for their business. So now you're doing lease on land that you've done nothing,
So they're like a sharecropper.
Exactly. I mean, it is to that
a tenant farmer.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that's available.
And this has been the biggest holdup for me to ever just go, because I've seen stuff and I'm like, I know that's a good deal.
Yep.
I should buy that. But then it's like, do I really want to just pay taxes on this piece of property? What am I going to do with the thing? Mm-hmm. I don't want to go and develop it. I don't want to go build a house on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go build a subdivision on it, because it's in the middle of nowhere. What do you do with it? And so leasing it for farm would be one.
That's definitely one way to do it, depending on how far away you are from a metropolitan area. I mean, the other is if you're already doing flips and you're already, kind of in the industry of building houses, well, then you can build houses. Or something that's gotten a little bit more popular and is definitely lucrative is if you or your partners have a substantial amount of cash, right? You've put together a substantial amount of cash for a down payment. So now I'm going to go out and buy like 30 acres. I'm going to go buy multiple acres for 1.5 million. Well, this isn't going to be something that an individual is going to go out and do because that's not interested in the profit margin or interested in it as being a business. They just want to build a house out there, right? Well, if you buy the land and then you go through all the steps of subdividing that land, now you can sell it off in parcels, and all you've done is go to the county courthouse and started the process of subdividing all of that land. And that's where a huge gain is, especially in our area. And I would definitely assume in a ton of other like metropolitan areas is the closer you get, but things are sprawling, right? So the closer you get to the area, and if you can buy a large parcel, whether you have to go in with somebody or not, and then you break those up into smaller lots.
And that's just hiring a surveyor.
Yeah, hiring a surveyor and, paying your fees. You're going to have to, the county wants their money for dividing all that up. But once it's all divided up, then you can sit there and sell off all these lots individually, and you charge substantially more for smaller lots. That right there is a huge gameplay.
So you buy, it's basically the pretty woman of it. You buy the whole thing and you break it up and sell it off into pieces, and it's worth more than the whole.
Exactly. And so I know that one right there is one that, for whatever reason, I mean, you and I have been in real estate for a pretty long time, but that one right there, when somebody kind of highlighted that and had a conversation with me about that, I don't know, just this year. It was, well, maybe it was last year, but still, it was a conversation that I had that for whatever reason, I just never even thought about, doing that route. And their biggest, the reason they were advocating and so happy with that transaction for the most part was because of the lack that they didn't have to have any contractors. Right. They didn't have to buy any materials. They're just selling off raw land, doing something that other people aren't out there actively pursuing and trying to do.
But you do have to have some cash to do that.
You do. You do.
Do you know what what banks will lend on what loan to value?
No, I do not know the loan to value on that.
I can tell you it's low.
Yeah.
It's around 50%.
Really?
It's low. Yeah. You need a lot of equity.
Well, I
to
mean,
go in and buy land. So if you are buying $1 million parcel, you're coming in with $500,000 in cash.
Yep.
Now, can you raise that? Yes, if you can prove that, okay, we're buying 30 acres, and we're putting 500,000 up, but we can double that.
Exactly. And the numbers were substantial whenever I was being walked through this special little deal.
I'm sure, though, also, if you're breaking them into, let's say it's a 30-acre tract, and you're breaking it into maybe 1 acre.
Yeah, 1 acre, half acre, maybe a 0.75.
You would still have to put some infrastructure there, correct? Mm-mm. You don't even have to build a road out to get to the different ones?
No, you don't have to. You're selling off the land. So basically, some of these some of these transactions end up happening with builders. You're going to go ahead and say, look, I've already done this. I've already filed it with the county. It's already plotted for you, or not exactly, the roads aren't there, but here it is. We're selling it for this, and they're getting eaten up.
Really?
And then
Well,
the
because
developer goes,
because developers and builders,
they're in the business of that.
right, and they're desperate to find these places. So how, and they don't want to spend the time sourcing the raw land, then how many months to get
Yep.
it subdivided.
And the subdivision of the properties and these lots, or these large plots, whatever, acres, that does take some time. It can take, several months because it's bureaucracy.
Depending on your county.
Yeah, depending on your county. But it can take a minute.
All right.
Most definitely can take a minute. And then there's a ton of people out there that are buying land and holding on to it with the hopes of crops getting legal here in Texas, because then that's going to be a huge draw.
I have heard numerous people tell me that apparently there's a new lake being created up north of Dallas, maybe 35, 40 minutes. And they are already starting to sell off the lots, the lakefront lots. And I have heard.
And the lake's not even in yet.
The lake's not even in yet, but they're going to. And so there are a bunch of people talking about just going up and buying that lot so that maybe 5 or 10 years down the road, they can go in and build their lake house that they want.
Wow.
But again, it does take cash to do. However, yeah, other benefits, low cost to maintain.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you're going to be paying taxes on the land, but paying taxes on land, raw land, especially when we're talking about outside of city limits, your taxes are minimal. So you're playing the long game.
So what are we talking about? When you say minimal, are they really, really minimal?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no structure on it, and you're outside of the city limits, so you don't have
ISD.
You don't have any of the ISDs. There is no, there's no city trash. No, you don't have any
Hospital.
of those. Yeah, you have none of those things going on, and depending on how big the lot is, there may be no infrastructure even close. There may not be any water going out there, electricity.
If you don't have utilities going out to your future subdivision, does that make it more or less valuable?
Well, it definitely makes it less. I mean, obviously, if you were to add that, if you just go in there and you're like, okay, I want to make sure that there's at least electricity hanging on poles around here. You're not even really doing anything, fancy. But if you do that, you can charge a little bit more for those lots.
To actually get water to the subdivision and get electricity to the subdivision.
Yep. And then it's on whoever develops that subdivision, or whoever, maybe it's a person that just wanted a few lots because they want to build their dream home, but it's up to them to get all of that on there. So it's an interesting, play that there's not a lot of competition, and it's mainly because for whatever reason, raw land tends to scare us away, because you're like, well, kind of like what you said, well, what do you do with it? What am I supposed to do with this? Yeah. But there's many, many plays, not just with the residential. You also have commercial. If you were to go out there and you've got a large plot of land that's not too far off the highway, then, you definitely could be advocating for trying to get somebody commercial to come in there, whether we're talking a gas station or something else that, some convenience store or fast food or whatever, just depending on how far away you are from civilization.
As the investor, would the value add for that be to rezone it from, say, an agricultural use, or if it was zoned residential, but could you make the argument that it's should be commercial just because it is got,
well, of course,
100 yards of frontal of, highway frontal road or something like that?
I think because of course, you're going to sit here and you're going to want to keep it ag as long as possible, because the ag exemption is going to give you, the most benefits. But when you go to sell it, as long as you've already talked, you already know the process, you already know it's approved for commercial or whatever, then I guess that whatever your strategy is, like, be clear on your strategy when you go to purchase that piece of land. But I find it interesting. I really do. And like I said, that one conversation that totally tipped me off to that strategy of just buying it, going in, partner, or if you've got the cash, and buying the large one and just piecing it off and selling off the pieces, because the pieces are worth more than the part as a whole. So it's interesting.
I have a friend doing it outside of Austin, and he's doing it with mobile homes.
Yeah.
Or manufactured homes. Let me be clear. It's not quite a mobile home, but it's a prefab house. And so he's partnered with a manufactured home builder.
Gotcha.
Who then, they say, okay, yeah, you come in. They've subdivided all of their land already, and then they're selling off
The homes.
the homes.
Nice.
And then, yeah, they get to order them out of a catalog, and they pick out all their finishes. And
Well, and that alone, because now you're selling these, but most mobile home parks or mobile, manufactured home subdivisions, a lot of times they're still leasing that land the entire time. There's a lot of them where you actually own the land yours sits on, but
in a mobile home park, no, it can be.
you're
it can be that
leasing
you're
the land.
constantly leasing the land, which would make it almost like a condo, right? Because you own the structure, but you don't own
the land.
that it's
And so
on.
then whoever owns the land that's your residual. You're not maintaining anything. You're not doing anything. I don't have to come out and fix your water pipes. That's you, So yeah, it's an interesting play. Ryan, would you mind scrolling up a little bit? Our notes,
She's saying I have all the power.
You have all the power.
So another one, next one is development.
Yeah.
Which we are desperate for houses in this nation, anywhere in this nation.
Yep.
Anywhere you go, we need houses. So we need tons of developers out there. And I hear they're still flying off the shelves. The problem is when you get into developing, the shortage of supplies.
Yes, right now
And
that's
the cost.
definitely a deal. Yeah.
And the cost. And I was having a conversation last week with somebody who he used to be a developer. He doesn't have a single new home construction program going on now. He's finished them all up. And he just said, you need to go in and you need to remodel right now because the cost of lumber, the cost of supplies, he said they're, in the case of lumber, 3 to 4 times.
Yep.
And he said, there's a lot of lumber in a house
Yeah.
that you don't see. And so
That's when we need those 3D printers, people. Let's get that 3D printer action going. Let's go in and buy one of those.
it's crazy when you think about that. I have to imagine that they are going to ramp up development as soon as we get the supply chain in order and we get prices to settle down a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. It's because the demand is still there. Things are still flying off the market, getting sold. Everything's still bidding up. But yeah, the developing side, but most builders that are doing large subdivisions, they're not stopping. That price point is not stopping them. They're just charging more for that house.
As they should. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the great question about inflation, right? Everything's inflationary right now. How much is it going to go up, and is it going to stay up?
Yeah.
Are we going to see any deflation afterwards? And nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So just enjoy it. If you need a house, go buy it. Go buy it now.
But yeah, being just as far as to kind of sum up, this one's kind of a short one as far as the land because, we all know what land looks like and raw land. There's only so many strategies. Well, I guess there's a plethora, but there's, the big plays is either to large parcel, section it off, sell off the sections for more money than what you would make than holding on to the whole thing.
But quite honestly, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to start with 30 acres.
No.
You could
don't
start with 5 acres and do 10 half acre lots.
Exactly.
So it's not,
it doesn't have to be out of your reach. It does not have to be like this substantial amount of money. But obviously, the larger parcel you can get, then the less competition you're going to have from other people. They're not all, other people are not everybody's doing this.
It's so great when you have money. When you
Right.
have like $1 million, you can easily make another $1 million. I'm like, but it only takes $1 million to start with.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. So everybody out there, go ahead and start small.
Yeah.
It's fine. Buy and hold for appreciation.
Yep.
I know that this is a thing. I've never really.
Well, I mean, it's the same as.
I know people do it. And,
Yeah.
and a lot of them, when they stay the course, they win.
Yep.
I've never been one to do that. I like to get my money and my profit back, 2-3 years tops.
Well, in the buy and hold for appreciation, that one right there, that with the ag exemption, that's what you would want to be doing. You're buying, you're holding it. I got the ag exemption and I'm using it as a write-off. I'm using it as a tax deduction. I'm using, just whatever benefits that allows. And so you're benefiting the entire time. You don't really have to maintain it. And then you sell it once it's appreciated, once you've hung on to it for 20 years. I mean, just the lack of the lack of maintenance required, is just like you bought that stock. I'm going to buy it and forget about it for a while.
So it's just easy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you bought that stock. Okay. So
Yeah.
instead of me going and putting a bunch into stock and crypto, I could just go
buy a piece of land,
buy a piece
let
of
it sit
land
there.
and let it sit there.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it getting damaged.
Yeah, exactly. You're not maintaining anything. So that buy and hold appreciation is the most common. And then, like we mentioned, the leasing it as well. Leasing it, whether it's leasing it to other farmers that want to, that need a crop, that want to
Hunters.
sell it. Exactly. Doing deer lease or something like that. I mean, there's all kinds of different avenues as far as like leasing it. And then obviously the one that we were talking about earlier about leasing it because that eventually certain things will be legal and they're going to need land to grow it.
Excellent.
Anyway, just a little tidbit I thought we should kind of touch on because we never talk about land.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
No,
So
I do. I've been looking for land anyways, a little bit, kind of south, out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah.
So we'll see what's available. There's actually a ton for sale right now.
Oh yeah. There's land is also pretty like it's always out there. It's always out there. People are always selling it, and there's typically a good deal that you can find because somebody inherited it and they're like, "What am I going to do with this?"
Right.
Or whatever the case may be.
And I should mention that it's a very good way because it is hard to get financing for raw land, and you do need substantial monies down. Going and negotiating with a seller to do a seller
Owner finance. Yeah.
seller financed option.
Yep, that's a great option.
And as you said, a lot of times they've inherited it. They're not doing anything with it. They just kind of don't care, and they'd like to have some cash coming in.
Exactly. Anyway, so if y'all have any questions about the land, kind of a land grab or, land investing and the different strategies, or if you've done it yourself and you got a story to tell, share it with us. We'd love to hear about it.
Drop it in the comments, subscribe. We're always looking for new subscribers. I always get excited when I see one. I go stalk you a little bit. So,
Well, thanks for tuning in, you guys, and check us out next time at Real Estate Divas. I'm Jer'Leigh Thompson.
And I'm Kristin Gerst.
Bye.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.